For years after I died, Grandma found my old phone and called Sean. Sean, Emily, it's been 4 whole years, and now you remember to call me? What, your sugar daddy run out of money? No cash, go sell yourself, stop acting pitiful with me. I'm telling you, I don't want to see you, even if you were dead. Grandma, on the other end of the line, was a bit stunned. Her hunched figure looked especially lonely. She held the phone carefully and asked, Sean, did you fight with Emily? I can't find Emily. After she finished speaking, her cloudy eyes glanced around the empty room, mumbling, oh right, Emily died, she's gone. How did I forget again? Maybe because she was worried about Grandma, I stayed with her after dying. Sadly, Grandma had Alzheimer's and would often forget that I had died. This time, she had another episode, wandered off to the park alone, and forgot the way home. Stubborn Grandma sat on a bench, muttering, it's okay if I can't find my way home, Emily will definitely come looking for me when she sees I'm not home. Emmy's spirit stayed by her side. Although she wasn't far from home, she couldn't hear me, so I couldn't guide her back. As the sun started to set, I, as a spirit, grew anxious. An almost 80-year-old grandma couldn't survive overnight alone in the park. Fortunately, Grandma seemed to realize this too and got up, seeing fewer and fewer people around. She walked up to someone and asked, have you seen my granddaughter Emily? I knew once Grandma asked someone, after chatting a bit, they'd figure out her situation and likely take her to the police. Once at the police station, Grandma could safely get home. But unfortunately, she asked the wrong person. It was Sean. Sean looked at Grandma, his tone containing a hint of impatience. Where did Emily go? Why are you alone here? This late, she's left you alone in the park again, she's probably off. Even though he didn't say the last few words, I knew what he meant. He wanted to say she was off fooling around with another guy. Look at that, even after 4 years of me being dead, his hatred for me hadn't lessened a bit. Grandma didn't understand his implication. Seeing Sean actually made her happy. Sean, you haven't come to our house to eat for a long time. Don't you love Grandma's apple pie? Tomorrow is your birthday, come have some apple pie at our place. You should talk things out. Emily is good at everything, just that she likes to keep things bottled up. When she went out today, she said she was going to buy you a birthday gift and surprise you tomorrow. Turns out, Grandma's memory stayed on that day. Back then, we were still deeply in love, inseparable like all love-struck couples. And his sweetheart hadn't shown up yet. What a pity. Hearing this, Sean's lips curled up into a sneer. Grandma, this isn't funny. Emily and I have broken up. You said she went out to buy me a birthday gift, she's probably buying it for someone else. Grandma was stunned. You broke up? But Emily never told me. Sean, don't be mad, I will teach her a lesson when she comes back. I wanted to hug her and tell her not to be mad, but my body just passed through hers. For years later, I still hadn't gotten used to being just a spirit. Sean's laughter grew louder, clearly not believing her. I told you, we did break up. If these are tricks Emily taught you, I'll let it slide this time. Please don't mention her name in front of me again. Just then, 2 aunts from the same neighborhood walked over and were surprised to see Grandma there so late. It's so late, how come you haven't gone home yet? Did you forget your way home again? Saying that, one aunt clicked her tongue and sighed to the other, this poor lady, relies on her granddaughter. Who'd have thought her granddaughter died 4 years ago, leaving just the old lady? Yeah, I died 4 years ago. I remember that birthday 4 years ago cheerfully. I went out to buy him a gift but saw him at the mall with another woman. Stunned and heartbroken, I left, then received a private message on social media from a stranger. I opened it, and it was a selfie of a girl wearing a white shirt for men, lying on a messy white bed in a hotel. I recognized that white shirt. I sewed the top button on myself. I remembered it clearly because I learned the little flower sewed on it from a blogger online. Sean never minded it and wore it even at important meetings. He'd said it was a symbol of our love. But now, this symbol was on another woman. That's when I realized love could be so cheap. Hearing the aunt's words, Sean stiffened all over. Various emotions flashed across his face. Finally, in utter disbelief, he asked, "What did you say? Emily died? You're lying to me, right? Emily must have put you up to this. She's always so good at spinning stories." The two aunts were quite shocked, supporting Grandma while muttering, "Who is this guy? He must be crazy, yeah, who'd dare make up lies about someone being dead, that's just cursing them." Grandma seemed to finally remember, her mouth trembled, and she said, "Yes, Emily, she's gone." Sean stood there dazed, looking a bit ridiculous. And my wandering soul followed the two aunts who supported Grandma, floating back home together. I even felt relieved when Grandma entered the house, thinking thank goodness Sean didn't follow. Perhaps recalling my death made Grandma very sad. Alone, she sat on the sofa, touching my photo, silently crying with her thin, bony hands. "You tell me, how could Emily, so young, leave before Grandma?" I floated over, wanting to wipe her tears, but failed, crying as I tried to comfort. "Grandma, Emily's not gone, she's right here." "Too bad, Grandma can't hear." The doorbell rang and then Sean's voice followed, "Grandma, open the door." "It's me, Sean." I was shocked. No way, I can't let him in if he comes in and finds my old stuff. I can't even imagine what the consequences would be. Grandma, a bit slow, turned her head slowly at the sound of the doorbell and the shouting. She appeared to be thinking. Sean's voice came again from outside. "Grandma, just let me in." "Emily, I thought about it calmly just now. How could you be dead? You just want to trick me into coming over. I'm here now, why are you pretending? Open the door now." He shouted and furiously pressed the doorbell. I was angry. His shouting might scare Grandma. He wasn't like this before. Whether it was with me or Grandma, he used to speak softly, afraid to raise his voice even a little. Now, besides pressing the doorbell, he started banging on the door. I clenched my fists, wanting to give him a punch. As a spirit, I went straight through the door. Even when I angrily swung my fists, they just passed through lightly. Since I couldn't teach Sean a lesson, I got frustrated and even tears welled up. But as a spirit, even crying wasn't as satisfying as it used to be. Angrily shouted at him, "Yes, I lied to you. Just leave, go away. It'd be best if you never came back." While I was throwing my tantrum, I heard a sound inside the house. Fearing for Grandma, I quickly went back inside. Luckily, Grandma was still safely sitting on the chair, though she had dropped a photo frame on the floor. Grandma, like she had just woken up, looked at the photo frame on the floor and bent down to pick it up. She then carefully wiped my photo in the frame. Got it dirty. Emily liked this photo the most. Good thing it didn't break. Indeed, this was my favorite photo once. Because Sean took it from me. Really, I wanted to tell Grandma that it wasn't my favorite anymore. My favorite photo now was the one of us together that she kept by her side. After saying that, Grandma, trembling, stood up and put the photo frame back to its original place. She quietly stood there, a smile appearing on her face again. I sniffed, not sure if Grandma's illness was good or bad. See, Grandma's Alzheimer's had been frequent lately. She once again forgot that her Emily was gone. At that moment, the door was inappropriately knocked again. Grandma responded, "Coming, coming." And then, she slowly walked to the entrance. The moment the door opened, Sean's angry face was still clearly visible. "Where's Emily?" he asked while looking around with his eyes. I knew Sean was looking for me. Grandma loved cleanliness and often cleaned the house. Since she had got Alzheimer's, sometimes I'd see her cleaning the house twice. The only difference was, even after 4 years, the house still looked the same. Is it Sean? Grandma, after losing her memory, had become even more lovable. She eagerly called Sean in, "Come in, sit." Emily went out, yes, went out. But where did she go? She said, turning to look out the window, murmuring, "It's dark now, Emily will surely be back soon. This girl never spends the night outside." She says she feels at ease staying by my side at night. Sean didn't seem interested in what Grandma was saying. Especially after hearing that I had gone out, the mockery in his eyes deepened. He was mocking me from the bottom of his heart. Thankfully, he still had a shred of decency left, didn't say anything too heavy, and just walked towards my room. He was already inside, I couldn't stop him. I might as well hover by his side, seeing what he planned to do next. As the door handle turned, a pink-themed room came into view. Grandma had carefully prepared this for me. Her hands were skillful, even the pink curtains were handmade. I loved it here. After my death, I'd float in now and then, lying there to rest. Sadly, as a spirit, I didn't need sleep nor felt tired. As he walked in, Sean's gaze fell on the photo frame on the table, a picture of us together. His eyes flashed with surprise but were quickly replaced by mockery. Didn't you already have another man? Why keep this photo? To reminisce how much you deceived me? Emily, the biggest regret of my life was loving you. He said this, ripping the photo album apart, scattering the photos into pieces. Even then, he still felt unsatisfied, angrily throwing the fragments onto the table. I pouted. He betrayed me first, why was he annoyed and angry now? Grandma, with a juice tray, stood at the door, blankly asking, Sean, what are you doing? Anger made Grandma's steps even firmer. She furiously put the juice on the cabinet. Seeing that Sean was tearing our photo, she argued, Sean, you're her boyfriend, how could you do this? Grandma knew Sean wouldn't have done such a thing before. He used to be so gentle back then. Meeting Sean was purely an accident. He was the heir to the Smiths Group and I was a fresh graduate. Smiths Group was almost every graduate's dream. With high salary and benefits, getting in was something to brag about at class reunions. I was the lucky one who got an internship through campus recruitment, but the workplace was much more complicated than I thought. I remember in the first month of joining, the company organized a departmental gathering. Department manager Sam, one of my seniors, had met me a few times during college. At the gathering, he insisted on having a drink with me and another new girl, claiming the department gathering was especially for us two. He even patted my shoulder, whispering, Emily. I reluctantly drank the 2 glasses. The girl sitting next to me had gone pale. She was clutching a glass of water, looking a bit lost. I sensed something was off, so I whispered to her. She pitifully whispered back that she's allergic to alcohol. The department manager led the charge, holding his glass and declaring that all newcomers had to drink a glass. The girl looked troubled and timidly explained, Sorry Sam, I'm allergic to alcohol. I can't drink. The department manager laughed immediately, I'm allergic to alcohol too, but a little bit is fine Jane, once you're in the real world, you have to learn to drink a little, got it? The others chimed in, making a chaotic scene. I didn't know where I got the courage, but I stood up to drink in her place. Sam, she really can't drink. If it's necessary, I'll drink this glass for her. How about that? So, with everyone cheering, I downed 6 glasses in a row. By the end, I was dizzy and out of it. While I was resting on the couch, I saw Sean sitting next to me. He was sitting there quietly, looking handsome and cold with his features. Maybe because I drank too much, I brazenly stared at him. He, holding his glass, looked back at me with interest. Our gazes met, and I knew that was the feeling of attraction. Even as I was passing out, I wondered, how could there be such a handsome man? When I regained some consciousness, I found myself pinned against the bathroom wall. Because I was drunk, I felt light all over through my blurred vision. I saw Sam pressing against me, reaching for my pants. The shock sobered me up a bit, and I started to struggle. What are you doing? Sam's face was no longer the friendly, smiling one I knew. Instead, he looked lewd. What am I doing? Of course, I want to be with you. Emily, I like you. You're so good looking, how can I not be attracted to you? I promise, as long as you're with me, the next project will be yours, and I'll promote you to team leader. Sam finished talking and started to move his face closer to mine. I was weak but fought back hard. I didn't want to ruin my life with a scumbag like him. Let go of me, Sam. You're breaking the law. Help. Somebody help. My voice was weak, but the noise outside was loud. Just as I was about to threaten to life, the clamoring outside suddenly stopped. Then, the bathroom door was kicked open. A tall, strong figure appeared, and then a heavy punch landed on Sam's face. That person held me tight, taking me away from that hellish place, and that person was Sean. He was so charming back then. Right now, Sean had a stern face, coldly watching as Grandma's trembling hands cleaned up the photo debris from the table. Grandma, I'm not her boyfriend. We broke up long ago because she betrayed me. Grandma's body tensed up, taking a while to react. Emily wouldn't betray you. When she talks, 9 out of 10 things she says are about you. She remembers your favorite dishes. Even though she can't cook, she tried her best in the kitchen. Grandma's voice was interrupted by the vibration of Sean's phone. I glanced at it and saw the name and on the screen. His brow furrowed slightly. Though the phone kept vibrating, he didn't answer it right away. I found it ironic. Men really do get tired of the old and crave the new. Once they have it for a while, they get bored. Wasn't he in love with his sweetheart back then? Now with this face, who is he putting on a show for? The phone vibrated for a while before stopping, then started again persistently. Sean opened his mouth as if to say something, but ultimately, he just walked out with the phone in hand. I wondered if they got married, and what they had to talk about. I guess I'm really too bored, wanting to know these things. So I floated out of the room and the house with Sean. His voice was just as pleasant as before. I used to close my eyes and lean in his arms, listening to his magnetic voice resonating in my ear. Turns out he can be so gentle to someone else too. A voice came from the other end of the call. Sean, why aren't you here yet? Sean responded instantly, I know, I'm on my way. Indeed, he loved her. Just like before, one call from Anne and he'd be there. After hanging up, I saw him hesitate at the doorway. Grandma sat on the stool, still puzzled about why I broke up with Sean, whom I loved so much. Looking somewhat sad, Sean just glanced at her and then closed the door, heading towards the elevator. When he reached the elevator, I was going to go back to accompany Grandma, but I saw him take something out of his pocket. Wasn't that my phone in his hand? That damn thief. When did he steal my phone? I lunged at him in anger, but of course, I passed right through his body. The elevator door opened, and he walked in. I furiously sat on his shoulder and yelled, Sean, I can't believe you have this habit. This is theft. You could get arrested, you know. I advise you to return it now, or I'll curse you non-stop. Do you even understand you're a thief? No matter how much I screamed, he couldn't hear me. Instead, I pocketed the phone, acting like nothing happened, and left the complex, getting into the Maybach parked outside. The contents of the phone were what worried me the most. Although I didn't want to see the two of them cozying up, I had no choice but to get in the car, but the destination wasn't his home, it was a hotel. Seeing the familiar place made something inside me awaken, and it hurt deeply. Why here? Why did they have to date at the hotel we once stayed at? And it's the same place where he proposed to me back then. As I watched him get out of the car, I loudly questioned, Sean, are you disgusted by this? Can't you two find another place? It wasn't until I followed him inside that I realized they weren't on a date, they were getting engaged. Anne, wearing a light blue mermaid dress, looked like a princess out of a fairy tale. See, fairy tales are full of lies, princes and princesses are always a pair. And greeted him cheerfully. Sean, where did you go? I couldn't find you anywhere. In front of me, Anne's eyes curved into a smile, and her voice was soft and sweet, completely different from how she used to talk to me. Saying this, she reached out to hold Sean's arm. He thought, after so many years and now being a ghost, I would be over it. But seeing Anne's intimate gesture still filled me with disgust. I wasn't sure if Sean did it on purpose, but he avoided her hand just as she reached out, moving towards his mother instead. Anne's hand missed, and her eyes briefly flashed with annoyance before she quickly withdrew. Suddenly, she looked in my direction, whispering through gritted teeth, "Emily, you damned woman, why are you still haunting me after all these years?" I was stunned. Couldn't see me? I waved my hand in front of her face, relieved when she didn't react. And took a deep breath, adjusted her expression, plastered a smile back on, and turned to Sean's parents. Sean, however, turned back and said calmly, "The guests aren't all here yet. I'm going to the restroom. You stay here with Mom and Dad." The term Mom and Dad made Anne's eyes crinkle with joy. She replied softly, "Okay." I couldn't care about what Anne was saying to Sean's parents because I noticed Sean gripping a phone, quickly walking to the restroom. He wasn't going to the restroom. He had another agenda. Sure enough, Sean went to a corner of the hallway, took out my phone, and pressed the power button. My heart started pounding. Knowing I couldn't snatch the phone away, I clenched my fists, eyes fixed on his actions. Soon, the phone's screen lit up. Just as I tensed, the screen flickered and went dark. He tried again, but the phone wouldn't turn on. Well, it had been over a year since Grandma last charged it. It might have even broken after the screen flickered just now. However, Sean pulled out his own phone and dialed a number. "Leo, come out for a sec." Leo, his assistant, quickly arrived after the call. Sean handed him my phone. "Get someone to fix this, the sooner the better. And also, look into Emily's whereabouts." Leo accepted the phone, a flash of puzzlement in his eyes, but nodded. 4 years. It took him 4 whole years to finally look into my whereabouts, only for me to already be dead. I started to wonder, upon learning I had died, would he be happy? After all, the woman he loathed, the one he never wanted to see, had vanished from this world. Soon, Sean was called back by his mother. The hotel was filled with guests, all there to witness their happiness. I had envisioned this scene once, but in the end, I never got to experience it. The host called Sean to the stage to give a speech, and I floated in front of him, moving back and forth. His brow remained furrowed, and I leaned into his ear, asking, "Sean, now that you have what you wanted, what's there to be unhappy about?" Sean couldn't hear me, but his gaze stayed fixed on the entrance. I looked in the same direction but couldn't understand what he was waiting for. Was he waiting for Leo to tell him that I was dead? Even if he learned that, what difference would it make? The host suddenly placed the microphone in front of Sean, smiling, "Mr. Sean, do you wish today was your wedding day with Miss Anne?" The room fell silent, with everyone staring at Sean, and I also focused my gaze on him. His lips moved as he looked at Anne, about to speak when his phone vibrated again. "Sorry, let me take this call." The call connected, and I floated closer to him, hearing Leo's voice on the phone. "Sean, Emily might have died 4 years ago. There was a sea accident back then with evidence suggesting the car owner was likely Emily. The police searched for half a month without success because Emily's only relative was her elderly grandmother." Leo's voice was low, heard only by me and Sean. I saw Sean's face turn ashen, his hand trembling as he ended the call and opened the message Leo had sent. It detailed the news of my sea accident from 4 years ago. Though indirect, anyone paying attention to the date of my disappearance could guess it was May. Moved closer, trying to blow his hair up, tauntingly saying, "See, they say I'm dead, and you still don't believe it? Sean, you're just like before, never believing anything I say." As soon as I finished speaking, Sean spit out a mouthful of blood. The red blood stained the red carpet and vanished quickly. Panic spread among the people, and was stunned. Just after vomiting blood, Sean collapsed straight down. "Sean!" I screamed, rushing to catch him, but his body passed through me and hit the ground. The scene erupted in chaos. Sean's parents were shocked. A few people quickly gathered and carried Sean to the car, heading to the hospital. I didn't know what to do next, so I floated into the car. I crouched on Sean's chest, staring at him. "Sean, didn't you say that even if I died, you wouldn't take another look at me?" When Sean woke up again, I was floating around the room out of boredom. VIP hospital rooms are different from regular ones. The space is big. I could even do a few somersaults in there. Seeing Sean awake, his parents rushed in, and came along too. Sean's mom asked with concern, "Sean, what's wrong? Have you been working too hard lately?" Sean smiled a bit, "Mom, I'm fine. Can you all leave? I want to sleep alone for a while." And seemed like she wanted to say something but ended up leaving with Sean's parents. The room became quiet again. Sean suddenly threw off his blanket and slowly walked to the bathroom. I wanted to follow, but felt it was inappropriate. Then I heard some strange noises from the bathroom. Curiosity got the better of me, so I went in. I saw Sean crying, his eyes red. No matter how much he tried to hold back, tears just kept coming. Eventually, he started dry heaving. I knew that feeling. When someone feels extreme sadness, they can start to puke. "Sean, so you weren't happy at all when you found out I died, were you?" After puking, Sean washed up a bit, then dragged his tired body back to bed for some reason. As Sean fell asleep, I also drifted off next to him. Anne's voice woke me up. She was still using that harmless tone, asking about Sean's well-being. Sean replied lazily, and soon Leo came in too. Seeing Leo, Sean asked, "Take me to the place where it happened. Also, make arrangements. I want to know what really happened with the accident back then." Anne's expression flickered with panic when she heard that. Though it was just for a moment, I caught it. The details about my death by falling into the sea had become fuzzy in my memory. Maybe it's because I'm just a soul now. Even memories with Sean have only started to return recently. When Sean and Leo left, I saw Anne making a hurried phone call. She looked so strange, so I floated after her. "Did you handle what I asked you to? I know it's been 4 years, but you know once Sean starts investigating, he's bound to find out. Are you sure there were no loose ends? Then what is going on now? I've tried to block any news that might let him know that damn woman is dead, but he still found out." I suddenly understood. The damn woman Anne was talking about was me. I was furious and screamed at her, "You're the one who should be dead." Wait, does this mean my death wasn't an accident but something unplanned? Murder, how could she dare? I lunged at Anne again and again, but I just passed through her each time. Exhausted, I decided to follow Sean. I wanted to see the place where I died. It turns out my body still hasn't been recovered even now. Floating into Sean's car, I saw Leo hand him a repaired phone. Today, I realized how heartless he truly is. Sean unlocked my phone with his birthday. Unfortunately, he guessed it right. I would have changed it if I hadn't died so suddenly. He quickly saw the messages on my social app, saw Anne's taunting, and the photos she sent May floated in front of him, shouting, "Scumbag, do you see it now? You betrayed me, not the other way around." Sean's hands trembled after reading the messages. He closed his eyes and asked in pain, "Emily, why didn't you tell me back then? It's all my fault." I did ask him back then. The day after Anne sent me those photos, I went to his office and asked, "Sean, did you sleep with Anne?" But Sean coldly laughed and said, "So what if I did?" "Emily, what do you mean to me? Why should I report everything to you? Don't think I don't know what you've done behind my back. Listen, Emily, Sean, never loved you." Yesterday, he was still saying he loved me, and today he was holding another woman, denying everything. I stood there, dumbfounded, not believing my ears. Later, Anne sneered at me, saying, "Emily, let me tell you the truth, you're just a stand-in for Sean's feelings. Now that I'm back, you should get lost." I remembered just days ago, he held me in his arms and said proudly, "Emily, you were so restless last night. Now I'm yours. You have to take responsibility for me." Now that I think about it, we did have some sweet moments. The car soon arrived at the destination. Sean got out, went to the trunk, and took out a diving suit. Leo was shocked by his actions. Before he could speak, Sean had already found a spot and jumped into the sea. I jumped in after him. The water was deep, and the further we went down, the darker it got. Even though I'm a soul now, I still felt a bit scared. Sean stayed underwater for a long time. Even when his oxygen was running out, he was unwilling to surface. Leo started urging, "Sean, your oxygen is running low. You should come up. If you keep going like this, you could die too." He didn't say a word and kept diving deeper into the sea. Honestly, even I was starting to lose my patience. The water down here was so deep and cold. The pressure got lower the deeper we went. Even professionals couldn't retrieve me, let alone him. Just as I was about to float back to the shore, I heard Sean's trembling voice, "I found it." Following his flashlight, I saw a sunken, abandoned vehicle at the seabed. Seaweed had wrapped around it, and the intense pressure had shattered the glass, turning the interior into a fish playground. At that moment, there I was, just a skeleton. Sean quickly swam over, seemingly in disbelief, and froze. Then he swiftly unbuckled the skeleton's seatbelt and carefully pulled away the seaweed. When he saw the ring on the skeleton's finger, he choked out, "Emily. How ironic. That ring was the one he proposed to me with, and now we meet again in such a way." The oxygen warning beeped. I started to panic, urging him to leave quickly, but Sean clearly couldn't manage with the limited oxygen. He gently embraced the skeletal remains, whispering, "Emily, I'm sorry for making you wait so long." Sean was saved by Leo. Even when brought to shore unconscious, he held tight to my skeletal remains. Sean stayed unconscious for 2 full days. When he finally opened his eyes, the first thing he did was look for me. Fortunately, Leo told him just in time, "Sean, I've securely placed Emily's remains. Don't worry. No one will touch it without your permission." Sean nodded, his face ashen. "Continue investigating what I asked." After Leo left, I floated around Sean, unable to stop myself from muttering, "Sean, the murderer is Anne. How can you not suspect her?" Sean, who had been lying down, got up slowly, seemingly thinking of something, and walked out of the hospital room. There weren't many people on this VIP floor. As soon as he stepped out, he heard Anne talking on the phone. "If he finds out, I'll be done for, and you won't survive either. All those involved with that woman have been taken care of." I knew Anne's good days were numbered. Indeed, the next second, I saw Sean, eyes blood red, approach Anne like he was ready to devour her. Seeing Sean like that, and recalling the recent phone call, Anne seemed scared too. She timidly called out, "Sean." As soon as she spoke, Sean lunged at her, grabbing her throat and pinning her against the wall. "Why did you harm Emily? Why deceive me? Why deceive her? We had nothing. Anne, I trusted you, and now I want to kill you." Sean's grip grew tighter, and Anne's face grew paler, as though she was suffocating. I was stunned. What did Sean say? They had nothing? I didn't believe it. If they truly had nothing, why didn't he explain when I confronted him? Why entangle with and while having me? Watching the scene coldly, for a moment, I hoped Sean would strangle her. Leo rushed over, prying Sean's hands off Anne, who gasped for air. "Sean, you can't do this. Emily died unjustly. If you kill the culprit now, she'd get off easy." Sean's body stiffened. Anne, finally able to breathe, collapsed to the ground, coughing violently. When she finished, she tearfully and pitifully pleaded, "Sean, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I was blinded by love. I didn't want anyone to take you away." Sean gritted his teeth, hissing, "Get lost. I never want to see your disgusting face again." And stood there, stunned, staring at the man she had loved for years. "I'll have Leo gather all evidence of your wrongdoing. You'll spend the rest of your life in prison. Get out." Terrified, Anne scrambled away. I thought I'd be furious, but seeing Sean's red eyes, I was suddenly at peace. Sitting beside him, I rambled on. "Why do you look like you're about to cry?" "I didn't cry. Do you know? There are so many places I haven't seen." As I spoke, Sean interrupted, "You can leave. Do what I asked. Hire the best lawyer. I don't care what it costs, I want Anne to rot in prison." Leo nodded and left. Sean chuckled bitterly, his eyes red. "Emily, I'm sorry. I misunderstood you. You said and wasn't a good person. I should have believed you. While Sean was hospitalized, I went home to visit Grandma. She seemed okay. A few toothless elderly women from the community gathered at home, chatting happily. Whenever they mentioned their grandchildren, everyone fell silent. But Grandma, having forgotten everything, proudly talked about her excellent granddaughter and handsome grandson-in-law. I think it's good that Grandma remembers things this way. When I returned to the hospital, Sean was packing. He left his phone on the bedside table, shed his valuables, and with my phone and a mysterious letter, he snuck to the second-floor basement garage. Uncertain of his plans, I felt uneasy. He sat in the driver's seat, expressionless, and I hurried into the passenger seat. Sean, where are you going? Why leave your phone and belongings? I shouted, but he couldn't hear. He just floored the gas pedal and sped off. I'm a bit panicky, watching wide-eyed as he floors the gas pedal and speeds toward the coastal highway. Even though the car stereo is playing my favorite songs, it can't calm my anxiety. This stupid man, is he planning to die with me? Just when I thought Sean was going to drive into the ocean, he stopped the car. I patted my no longer beating chest and let out a long sigh of relief. That scared me to death. I thought you were going to jump into the sea. Sean closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and then pulled out a lighter to set fire to the envelope that had been sitting on the passenger seat. Emily, I'm sorry. Emily, are you here? If there are really souls in this world, please, you must accept my letter. As the flames started to rise slowly, a letter appeared in my hands, addressed to Emily. Emily, I'm so sorry for speaking to you this way, but Emily, I don't know what else to do. I'm so foolish. You've been gone for 4 years, and I thought you were still alive. I was blind to see that and easily deceived me with a few badly photoshopped pictures. I didn't know she sent you those kinds of photos and messages behind my back. Emily, I swear, I've never touched her. From beginning to end, it's always been you. And you were never anyone's replacement, much less hers. You were just you. I remember you once asked me why I chose you and when I started falling for you. I'll tell you now. It was at that party. You were in trouble yourself but still protected others. It was so stupid and cute, and that's when I fell for you. Did you know, Emily, I saw your account on your phone, the one where you recorded every little detail about us? It had our first date, our first kiss, and even our first time. Emily, Grandma was right, you're a kind and thoughtful girl, and I let you down. I saw your last message on social media, Sean, if I really die, will you die with me? Now I can tell you, I can. Emily, wait for me, okay? The diary on that account really was mine, everything set to my eyes, only those few hundred words. I read them over and over. Before I knew it, I heard the sound of Sean's foot on the gas pedal. The Maybach's nose faced the sea, and with Sean flooring the pedal, I knew exactly what he intended to do. Sean, are you crazy? I don't want you to die with me. You stay alive, live well, you hear me? But he couldn't hear my shouting. The car charged directly into the sea. Memories started to flood back, and it felt like I was back on the day I fell into the sea. Seawater rushed in, choking my nose, throat, and lungs with burning pain. Dying isn't scary, the process of dying is. Watching the water gradually swallow the Maybach, I jumped into the sea without hesitation. Even though I knew that diving in wouldn't help. But I still did it, watching Sean slowly sink with his eyes closed. I swam into the car, looking at his closed eyes. The man in front of me, with his defined features and handsome face, was the one I once loved deeply, but now, he was also going to die. The ocean is so deep, I sank down with Sean. Just when I was feeling overwhelmed with sorrow, I heard a voice behind me, Emily, is that really you? I turned around and saw Sean floating outside the car window. Realizing that there was another Sean inside, I understood that the one outside was his soul. Yes, it's me. Sean looked at me joyfully. He asked, Emily, can you take me with you? Take him? Of course not. I shook my head, no, you can't die, Sean. You have to hold on, they'll come to save you soon. Sean, I'm already dead. I can't take care of Grandma anymore. If you can live, will you help take care of her for me? She's my only concern left in this world." Saying that, I paused for a moment. It seemed like besides Grandma, I was also forgetting someone. Someone very important to me. But who could it be? I couldn't remember at all. Sean let out a bitter smile and asked, "What about me?" "You?" "Sean, you'll find people who love you, and whom you love, and start over with your life then." I heard some noise. A while later, the Maybach was being lifted by something. Someone had found Sean in the sea. I knew he was going back. Sean was saved. Shortly after he and the car were pulled out of the water, an invisible force dragged him back. I smiled and waved at him. "Please take care of my Grandma, always." I made sure to keep my expression as beautiful as he remembered. When Sean woke up again, I was still by his side. The moment he opened his eyes, tears filled his reddened eyes. Unfortunately, he couldn't talk because of the oxygen mask and could only turn his eyes towards Leo. Leo understood and came closer, handing Sean his phone. Sean typed out the word Grandma on it. He really remembered. He promised to take care of my Grandma. Leo glanced at the words and understood immediately. Then, he shut his eyes, tears of regret streaming down his face. What good is regret? I'm already dead. I squatted on his chest, watching his pained and pitiful face. I should be laughing, right? Laughing at his choice, laughing at his pain, laughing at how he deserves this. But I couldn't help but sniffle, feeling utterly miserable. I stayed with Grandma again. Sean kept his word, hired the best nurse to take care of Grandma, and even Leo accompanied her for chats. Grandma was always happy, and I floated joyfully around them. One day, while Leo was telling Grandma a story, Sean came in. Seeing Sean, Grandma suddenly asked, "Are you Emily's friend? You look so handsome, just right for my Emily." Sean smiled, his eyes turning red again. He hugged his grandmother and softly said, "Grandma, Emily went on a business trip far away. She asked me to spend some time with you." It turned out Grandma's illness was getting worse. Leo stayed with Grandma while Sean walked into my room once more. Seeing the photos he had torn to pieces before, his body couldn't stop trembling. Luckily, Leo noticed in time and supported him. "Sean." Sean waved his hand, "I'm fine." He pushed Leo's hand away and walked step by step into my room. He saw the photos he had torn before still on the cabinet and began to piece them together frantically. Then he found my diary in a drawer. He opened it and saw his name written on every page. Sean broke down again. I had written in the diary, "Sean, we promised to be together forever. Sean, you said you'd love me for a lifetime. Sean, how could you have another woman behind my back? Sean, will you only be happy if I die?" These were the questions that had troubled me before, but now I knew the answers. Thanks to Sean's meticulous care, Grandma lived happily. I stayed by her side, watching this lovely old lady. One day, out of the blue, Grandma grabbed Sean's hand, staring at him and saying, "Emily gave birth to a daughter for you." She pulled out an ultrasound report that had been buried in a box. Sean was stunned and trembling all over. In a hoarse voice, he asked, "We have a daughter? Grandma, where is she now?" But no matter how he asked, Grandma didn't know. And in that moment, my mind buzzed. I remembered the most important person I had forgotten, besides Grandma, our daughter. On his birthday, I was going to give him a gift and tell him I was pregnant. But the very next day, we broke up. I didn't originally want to keep the child, but thinking of that little life, I gritted my teeth and gave birth. Who knew that just a few months later, such a tragedy would happen? After I died, Grandma fell seriously ill. The elderly woman with a baby couldn't manage to take care of her. In the end, the community decided to send the baby to an orphanage. I lost those memories, including which orphanage the baby was sent to. Later, I personally saw Anne being sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. I knew this was Sean doing his best ensuring that Anne couldn't die or get out. I also saw Sean rebury my body, engraving beloved wife Emily on the tombstone. 3 years after being imprisoned, and suddenly requested to see Sean, claiming she had information he wanted to know. Sean didn't want to meet her, but fearing he might miss news about our daughter, he met her. And looked at him through the glass and smiled foolishly. Sean, I thought I wouldn't see you again in this life. I still don't understand, how did I lose to her? Sean's patience wore thin. What's the news? If you're only here to say pointless things, then don't say any more. As if afraid he'd leave, and suddenly spoke, I know you have a child. Sean's fist clenched tightly. Tell me, where is the child? What did you do to our daughter? And laughed crazily. I had everything but needed a man. Why did she have to interfere? And why did she have to bear your child? I could have spared her, but she gave birth to your child, so she had to die. I should have killed that old lady and the child back then. I realized and was completely insane. She had lost her mind trying to have Sean. Sean tried to ask more, but and suddenly coughed up blood. Seeing this, Sean frowned. Anne, what did you swallow? And looked pained but smiled. Poison. There's no way I'd leave prison, but getting some poison? How could it be impossible? Sean, I want you to die with regret and loneliness. What I can't have, no one else can. And died, and the clues about our daughter were lost again. From then on, Sean kept searching for our daughter's whereabouts. But as if fate was playing a cruel joke, even by the time Grandma passed away peacefully at 98, he hadn't found her. The only piece of good news was that our daughter had been adopted by a wealthy family. Grandma spent her last 20 years happily. She had a smile on her face even as she left. Epilogue. Sean passed away the year after Grandma. Not yet 50, his hair had turned silver. As his life neared its end, he looked into the distance, filled with hope. He mumbled words no one could understand. Emily, will you come to take me? Emily, why haven't you come to my dreams in 20 years? He reached out into the air. But at that moment, he saw a girl almost identical to Emily. Sean smiled weakly. Emily, is that you? I knew you'd come to take me away. However, the girl walked over, gently shaking him with concern. Sir, are you all right? Sir, hold on, I'll call an ambulance. In his last conscious moments, Sean couldn't tell if the girl was Emily or their lost daughter. But he knew one thing clearly, he had hurt her too deeply. She probably wouldn't come to see him, not even at the end.